Welcome. What is this thing we're calling awakening? I'm I I'm on Facebook and I read many posts from Facebook friends, and then I also have been involved in some non-dual groups. Um, I'm just smiling here. Uh, what is awakening? This thing we call awakening. Um, I will say that the the experiencing, if I can, refer to it as that, is incredibly personal, yeah, uh, or maybe I should say individual or unique. And, already I'm talking about a paradox. So I need to bring in here that the infinite and the relative realities are not separate. So as I'm speaking, it's all included. So don't mind the language. It's going to be intermixed, the personal, i.e., relative, and the infinite, the absolute. There's no separation. So this so-called awakening, and I do refer to it as so-called because it really doesn't exist. It's simply the flow of experiencing. But okay, for the purposes of conversation, I'll say it's unique. Uh, nobody, there's no, like one size fits all or the same thing happens to everyone. That's just not the case. And I can only tell you my experience and what seems to have been different in other people's experience, just simply based on what I've read them describing. I studied intensively for a number of years with my teacher, Peter. And what I came to recognize over those years is how inaccurately I held reality to be. So for me, it was engaging with his pointers. It was exploring direct experience as he had guided us and invited and encouraged us just in random moments throughout the day, just investigating reality and how I held things to be. As I've mentioned previously, playing with experience. Uh, Before I get out of bed in the morning, I would, you know, really look uh, who threw the leg over the bed. You know, I recognized that there was no I doing that. I realized that thought after the fact took credit for that. But this, how do I put this? It's so sensitive in a way. Uh, these explorations occur, at least for me, over a period of time, and you know, unfolding the ways that I held reality to be. Um, Ideas about here and there, ideas about a, a, a separate me. This was all played with and investigated and studied studied intimately, not here, but through direct experience. What I was very aware of during the time I was studying with Peter was, and he spoke about this, it's this urge to escape our normalcy. It just something always felt missing. I wasn't there yet. These are all thoughts that come and go that create this sense of a separate character missing something, not there yet. Um, you know, it's it's the way reality is held. It's the psychological framework that's, that we've lived in. And gradually, through these experiments and investigations, the way these specific things are held, they just start to fall away. They just start to fade. So for me, there was no collapse of anything. There was no I that collapsed because, because there wasn't any I to begin with. You know, um, there was no, uh, dramatic anything that uh, happened. It was just all a very, I remember in a meeting when Peter was up in Seattle uh, one week, and we were just sitting around in this living room together, our group, and he just kind of randomly said to me, uh, and I wrote this in my book, Opening to the Mystery. He said, uh, "You seem to have had a gentle awakening." I think that was the word he used. I know he said gentle. I think he said awakening. Um, and and it's true. Based on what I've heard from others, um, it sounds like other people can have these kind of either extreme, sudden, like explosion kind of a thing, or I mean, I don't even know because it was my there was no experience like that whatsoever here. Um, so it can be different for everyone, and it can leave different kind of feelings. I know that I've read in some people's posts, they talk about this intensity. Uh, what's here in this landscape is just an ease. Um, it's just so ordinary. Um, how do I want to say? It's just this, flow of unfolding. I mean, the words you just can't describe experience. It is not graspable. And so, that might be the biggest takeaway for me uh, in this unfolding, awakening, whatever you want to call it, is that nothing is graspable. No words can define or describe what's happening. So, when things happen, uh, I'm not going off into, oh my God, that's terrible. Oh, that's horrible. I mean, that's not wrong to have that kind of reaction, but that is also part of what fell away is the qualifying, uh, the reacting to whatever, whatever. And it's not that there's no reaction. I mean, I can hear something on the news, and, think, my God, what a effing idiot. But aside from that, I mean, it's just an instantaneous flash, like all instantaneous flashes. Um, it's just this ordinary normalcy that is incredible at the same time because, how is it here? This miraculous display of vibrancy. I mean, even if I'm just, I mean, like, sure, right now I'm outside, but even if I'm just in my living room, it's like it's the miracle of existence. Now, I'm not walking around in my house or in my uh, chores doing, oh, what a remarkable, magnificent existence. No, it's it's simply this presence, this being, this life, this, you see, words just cannot capture it. You cannot define this. It is beyond description. And the way anything is held is part of the confusion. You can't hold anything a certain way. You know, I don't sit around and wonder. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this, but I don't sit around and wonder, well, who is noticing? Uh, I mean, that's probably part of the unfolding. It just didn't happen here. Uh, who is, who's noticing? Who's experiencing? There is no who, there is no what. There's simply this. You can call it presence, you can call it existence, experiencing itself. You know, it's very tempting to try to create this little itsy bitsy identity of someone who's unfolded or unfolding. And that's fine. You know, whatever happens is just fine. You know, there's no process, and yet I can still say it's all part of the process of unfolding, whatever it looks like, whatever you think about it, whatever you feel about it. There is no right or wrong. That's the most important takeaway. There's nothing to get to, there's nothing to get rid of. You know, everything that we've been learning about awakening is probably more or less more story, because if you really look, your hand is going to be empty and there's not going to be any hand. Not that it doesn't, not that there's not some appearance of something, but nothing is what we think it is. And that is my utmost takeaway, is that nothing is what we think it is. Nothing is what the mind thought. That there isn't even any mind. There's nothing what thought thinks it is. And so when that gets returned to over and over, oh, this isn't what I think it is. Oh, what's happening here isn't what I think it is. I mean, you know, do that, be with that intelligently, you know, not like a parrot, be with that intelligently and really notice. And that's the key, noticing what's here, not what we think it is. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your experiences, your questions. It's always a delight to connect with you.